I guess Dimitri, and we're about running out of time, so I have a last or soon to be last question. From a technology perspective, is there anything that's come out? I mean, VPN, obviously, we joke about it being an old technology, but is there any new technology that's come out since the pandemic, or things that have been brought forward that are helping solve some of these problems?
Um, Not even necessarily since the start of the pandemic, right? Tools have existed. Tools, there are many of the problems that are faced today, the tools have existed for that. I like a saying that the future is here, it's just not distributed evenly, right? So the future has been here, it's just now it's time to distribute it more evenly, right? But okay. VPN, we talked about VPN, old technology, everybody knows, still useful. And by the way, when we talk about VPN, I mainly talk about SSL VPN actually, because that's where all the advanced authentication technologies, etc., are, not the old IPsec VPN. And that's useful not only when people think on-prem, they think physical building. That's not true anymore. A lot of organizations, what they've done is they said, I'm getting out of the business of running my physical data center, but I have a system. So what they take is they basically forklift that and they pop it up into Azure, AWS, etc. But that still has to be behind certain in a walled garden. So VPN is not just to a physical building; it's also to public cloud, kind of private networks in public cloud.
Yeah.
Okay, but everybody understands SSL VPN. It's a very useful technology right now. We talked a little bit about CAS, Cloud Application Security. And what I like to those who are listening who come from more traditional networking backgrounds, I like to start the discussion of CAS with, there's no software to install, there are no appliances to deploy. Okay, just approach the conversation of cloud application security that it's a cloud-to-cloud service that talks via APIs, right? And there's nothing for you to deploy on your network or on your users' machines. It's a cloud-based security service. Then we go into more kind of traditional solutions for the new age. So network security, I'm talking, firewalls, access points, etc. And I actually, if I was to make a prediction, I think we will see a large surge in the next year to year and a half, and it's a way overdue, of enterprise grade security for home. For the last 9 years, at least 9 years, security experts have been, every other month there is yet another release of how some TP-Link or D-Link or some other consumer grade $20 router has massive vulnerabilities. Forget a default admin password. I'm talking about like basics, remotely exploitable vulnerabilities. There are botnets built on these things, right? Now that organizations are going to realize that people's homes are an extension of their network, there's going to be an uptick of enterprise grade security for home. Okay, how to deploy? So this is where I can talk. There is enterprise grade. We do have enterprise grade security for home in small form factors. The key there is centralized management and remote administration, right? The ability to manage thousands of them through a single console, the ability to deploy them with zero touch, the ability to have an access point. I should have one. Oh, there we go. Let's bring some props.
We need props. Right? We need props.
The idea of bringing something like this and just telling the user, just plug it in and walk away. Don't touch anything else. People know how to plug it in, right? This thing will actually build a tunnel can be configured to connect to it'll automatically connect to a cloud management console and can be pre-configured to, when it goes online, to build a tunnel to the network in a secure way, whatever, all the stuff that an admin does. From a user point of view, they plug this in, and 5 minutes later, they have corporate Wi-Fi, right? Or might be a PoE port, and they plug in their soft phone or their printer, but they have a little island inside of that, again, dirty home networks. And again, I'm talking about things that might seem, they're not sexy terms. I'm not talking about blockchain connecting to IoT with machine learning, right? But it's pragmatic stuff that's actually going to solve problems right now. And I think that, the home networks to me are the soft underbelly right now from a security point of view in most companies. If I was a hacker, right, I like to think of like, what would I do to be the most a-hole, basically, right? Like to screw people up, right? I would target homes. I would target home networks because people are not they don't have security there. And right now,
he
with
has
everybody from
evil
home,
Dimitri somewhere in the internet.
but you got to think like that, you got to think like that. You got to think like, if you can think like, how would I screw people up, right? How would I get in? Then you can also think of solutions for that.
Yeah.
And I think home networks right now are soft underbelly ripe for exploitation.
Oh, I think you're so right. So right. If you think of the average technical acumen of the typical person, and that person's going to connect to your Wi-Fi and may inadvertently have access to your network. So my Wi-Fi network at home is called still loading. Invariably, people come over and they tend to be 35 and up, and they go, "What's your Wi-Fi ID?" I don't know. It's still loading.
Yeah, it's still loading.
But just consider that, right? Because I think that if you're technically savvy, you're going to be like, "Huh, that's a funny,
yeah,
right?" But if you're not, you're going to be like, "Oh, well, it's still loading."
Still loading. Yeah, don't use.
And those are the people connecting to your home network that have access to your corporate.
People will also have just default whatever modem. Most people, right? And I should pull up statistics on this. How many people have just modems that come from their ISP with whatever software
more than
software they got
60% probably.
Yeah, and that's what they have. And then the ISP, how many times have you had a phone call with your ISP that says plug your laptop directly into the modem? I'm like, no,
right.
I would never do that. They're like, well, sorry, we can't support you then. Right? And anyway, that's home security. That's home network security.
So I got a question for you, Dimitri. This is a conversation we had internally. We were talking about it. Is at what point do you believe that, or if ever, that organizations are maybe going to somehow be a little bit responsible for the performance of that at-home network, right? I mean, especially companies that may have adopted more of the BYOD approach. You just utilize your home machine and we'll get you connectivity in and go from there. But yet you've got the Fortnite, the Netflix streaming that's causing network disruption. How do you is the IT department at any what shape or form somewhat responsible to provide assistance to that? And or even take it to the next level, you're talking about security, you were talking about hardware security within the home, but what about even that endpoint protection? EDR at
Thank
home.
you. Yeah.
Let's deploy it. I mean, it really wouldn't be that much of a, call it an employee perk to say, hey,
no, 100%.
Let's let you have a couple clients for your home use, your personal use, just get it on all your machines. If your machine's going to run a lot better at home because we're helping you protect it and you're going to be more productive, that's an easy win.
100% agree with you on the endpoint client. Now, I had a brain fart. I completely forgot to mention that, right? And that's a super easy thing to do. I don't think companies are going to take on the full network. That's too hairy of a problem. I think if anything, they'll say, here's your work environment, your home environment, you're on your own, right? Because it's just too much. Liability is not the right word. It's like now you're tech support for people's homes, right? But giving them endpoint clients or giving them these islands, to connect, that's a much more controllable, and the scope of the problem is much more controllable. I fully expect, I fully expect that, especially as companies start seeing money. I'm a firm believer of incentives. And once the financial, and for companies, it's the only incentive is the financial incentive. Once financial incentives align, I fully expect that to be the case.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of merit on the enterprise hardware approach as well, as far as deploying something in a home. I can very easily see, to simplify a lot of things, it's a lot easier to say, hey, we're just going to put that router in place. It's not going to be a D-Link or anything else. It's going to be ours. And we're going to give you plug your stuff in over here, and I don't really care what you do with it. But all of this is our corporate side, right?
Exactly. That's exactly what I mean.
It's too easy to make things simple for an IT administrator to not have those help desk coming. Everything's running slow again. Well, no, actually, we're good now.
And I can monitor, and I can control, and I can see it all through centralized management and with remote. And the key here is, I'm not visiting somebody's home to set it up. I send it, and with that zero touch, through cloud management consoles or on-prem, whatever, it's a choice. There's no on-home visit, right? And that's especially during in normal times, that would be a lie. You don't want to send the people into people's homes, etc. Today, it's even more obvious.
Right.
So I guess the bottom line is there's really no excuse at this point. So we've learned a lot. There's really no excuses for businesses going forward to try to now take those precautions, do those things, because they have a little bit more runway, right? They had the pain. Now they're catching up. Now, as Jason said before, I mean, let's hope things don't get worse, but obviously it seems like they are. So be prepared, right? That's, I guess, the message. Be prepared.
Fool me once, fool me twice situation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.